Hello everyone, I'm NiniFC and this is Blue Lines TV, and today's News Daily video is brought to you by OneFootball. OneFootball is the app that you need to cover everything related to your favourite football team and general football news. Use the OneFootball app so you're up to date with every team's transfer news, team stats, fixture lists, competitions and much more. Personalise your feed. Get alerts to the news and stories you want. Download the OneFootball app today. Your football fix is only a swipe away. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about so many things. I'm going to be talking about Chelsea's plans to double club revenue in the next 7 to 10 years and what this actually means for our future. Now, basically, we've got a new commercial director at Chelsea called Chris Townsend, and previously he's held roles at Sky Sports. And he was a major instrumental figure for the London Olympics in 2012. He's one of the main reasons why London were able to finance the $2 billion needed to actually raise the funds for the Olympics. And he brought in so many crucial deals to really help that happen and become a reality. He got deals for BA, that's British Airways for you guys I don't know, EDF Energy, and many more. And he actually has a real passion for football. Well, he is a Manchester United fan, so make of that what you will. But it's actually quite nice to have someone with such a massive pedigree as Chris, as well as being a fan of football. So meaning that he actually has a real understanding of the sport, and hopefully that's going to show. Chris Townsend was recently appointed this year, and his plans are to increase club revenue by double in the next 7 to 10 years because he wants Chelsea to be in the top 5 bracket when it comes to, club revenue in Europe. During the last financial year, Chelsea earned 344 million as well as 163 million in terms of commercial deals. But when you actually compare that to, let's say, Manchester United, who earned the most last year in Europe, they earned around 515 million as well as another 272 million in commercial deals. So really, we are quite far off in terms of reaching the real financial elite. Now, Chris Townsend's plans to really increase the club revenue is to increase the commercial deals at the club and to increase the amount of premium sponsors that Chelsea can get. As quoted by Chris Townsend, Manchester United, Manchester City and others have anywhere between 50 and 70 sponsors. We plan to focus on more premium brands in a far more limited range of categories. Chris further states, by creating additional revenues for Chelsea, it allows one to invest in more players. It's looking quite promising in terms of our financial future because back in 2011, that was when financial fair play was actually implemented. And from that day on, Chelsea have strived and worked very hard to become self-financing. Basically, Roman Abramovich was financing a lot of deals at the club, and because of financial fair play coming in, you have to balance the books. If you don't balance them, you're going to get fined, and that's not going to be good. And Chelsea have done so many things to really help in that regards. For example, we've got the new sponsorship deal with Nike worth 900 million over 15 years. Yokohama Tires was worth 50 million per year, plus Carabao, that's worth another 10 million per year, and that's basically the sponsor for our training kits. And let's not forget there's other financial avenues that Chelsea have created, such as the loan army in terms of selling players on, loaning players out where clubs are paying for their wages and paying fees to actually have Chelsea players. I mean, we have nearly 40 something players plus in the loan army, so they all play a part and it actually brings in quite a lot of money for the club. And let's not forget one of the biggest deals we have coming in the future, and yes, that's finally securing the planning rights to build our new $500 million 60,000 seater stadium. And Chelsea, basically the capacity is being increased by another 18,000, and what Chelsea are planning to do is increase the hospitality seats by double to around 11,000, which is going to bring in a lot of money. At the same time, there's an argument for the corporatization of football and how it's becoming more of a business and how will this really affect the atmosphere at the grounds. But with this new stadium coming in, it's going to potentially increase matchday annual revenue by more than 30 million plus to around more than 100 million compared to Stamford Bridge, which brings in around 70 million. The new stadium actually brings in a ton of potential investment opportunities. For example, naming rights to the stadium. Shirt sponsors or companies could buy the rights to maybe stands or actually name the whole stadium. Man City did something similar, Arsenal have done that as well with Emirates, and that brings in a ton of financial gains as well. And with Chris Townsend on board, this is a guy that is known for breaking deals and bringing in deals. So it's actually very exciting for our future, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of club we become in the next 7 to 10 years. It's going to be a completely different landscape during that time. All the players playing for us now most probably won't be part of the future Chelsea squads in the next 7 to 10 years. But if anything, I kind of feel that if Chelsea do want to be the club that can attract such massive financial gain from sponsors and companies wanting to invest in the club, I really believe that we do have to really market and change the brand of how Chelsea are perceived. And I really think with, it's very simple in football. We have to change the philosophy of how we play football. Of course, if you want to invest in the club, if we're known for being extremely successful as well as playing, fantastic football, and we have a lot of world-class players at the club as well, you're going to want to put money into Chelsea. You want to invest. You want to, do sponsorship deals with us, because, there's a gain. Because that Chelsea are an attractive proposition where a lot of people are going to watch the club. And I really feel that this is something Chelsea should work towards, so we can really get a unified identity at the club. Because at this moment in time, I feel that, we're kind of like 3 separate entities. We've got the fantastic world-class youth academy, which we don't really utilise effectively. We like to try and sign the big players as well. And at the same time, we bring in managers maybe that have a different philosophy in terms of their football. And there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes at the club, and there's no real unified voice. And I think Chelsea really need to have that, because too often it's always start and stop. For example, Mourinho, here for 2-3 years, he's gone, we have to rebuild again. Too many times during this, well, since Abramovich's era, it's been managers coming, managers going. There's already talks of Conte potentially leaving at the end of the season. He hasn't signed a contract extension. He's only agreed to more money for this year. He potentially could be leaving next season, and we could be bringing in another manager with a completely different philosophy and style. And it's like, again, he's going to bring in his ideals. It's going to change the philosophy of the club, change their player mentality as well. And we just need to have that cohesion where, we're going to be good for the next 10 years. And I really feel that this is what Chelsea really need to work on as well, because once we have that unified philosophy, as well as the club's plans to really increase commercially, I think we can be the best club in Europe in the next 10 years. And I'm very happy actually reading these reports. This is actually coming from the Financial Times, because it shows you the ambition that the club have. And I've always said this too, when you're a club like Chelsea, the plan and goal should be to become the #1 club in the world. Of course, that should be the case, and it looks like Chelsea are putting the plans in place to finally become that club. Moving on to another story, and yes, Oscar was given an interview to Copa 90 and to the Brazilian PR website, where he was talking about his future plans, saying he's enjoying playing in the Chinese league, but he said because of how young he is, in the next 2 to 3 years he could leave, and if he does leave, ideally he'd love to come back to Europe, and he'd love to go back to the Premier League. Now, he did say that when he did leave Chelsea, the doors were made open for him to make a return back to the club, and it's quite interesting. I've always felt with Oscar, he's always been very unlucky. For example, Mourinho really was the guy to really mess him up, and it's not the first time Mourinho's changed their core ideals of a player. I mean, back in his first spell with Mikel was a creative attacking playmaker, which he then transitioned into an anchor man in midfield. And really, Mikel has done a good job. He's had a good career, but you always get the sense that there's, he's got more potential to him. And this is what's happened to Oscar. He really had to play a more tactical role. I always called him the Michael Ballack of the team, because it was always about his work rate, always about supporting the play and really helping the team tactically and making them more cohesive. But by doing that, he was sacrificing his own game. Now, we've always got glimpses of Oscar's potential and his ability. I think his best ever game he had for Chelsea was the game against Sunderland. That was the game after when Mourinho left, and I think Steve Holland took charge. That's one of the most, one of the best footballing matches I've seen at Stamford Bridge, because everything was fluid, it was expansive, non-stop attacks, and Oscar had his best ever individual performance for Chelsea. It was the first time you've ever seen him have the license to dictate the play in the field. He was creating everything good went through him. You could see all his Brazilian flair, his tricks, his skill, his flip-flaps, his through balls, linking up players. I think he got a goal in that game as well. And this was why we signed Oscar. This is what I thought the whole point of Oscar was. But it's like, you know, with Mourinho having his own tactical ideas and philosophies, he doesn't like that type of player in his team because he prefers the team to be more rigid and, you know, defensively strong. And unfortunately, even though Oscar's work rate should have been seen as a bonus, Mourinho tried to turn it into his main strength. And Oscar wasn't really allowed to really express himself and really show his world-class potential that he had. And if anything, it is quite interesting if he did make a return. Who knows? 2-3 years, which he's talking about, Conte might not be here. We might not be playing with a 3 at the back system. But it's quite interesting that if we did keep Oscar, he would have suited playing this 3-5-2 that Conte is starting to use. And it's quite weird why Conte didn't decide to use 3-5-2 last season, because if you really think about it, I don't think that having Bakayoko was the main reason for why he finally felt comfortable to play with a 5 in midfield effectively. I'm not quite too sure about that. Oscar could have been that guy where, you know, he's basically playing the Fabregas role. Better defensively, of course with the same attacking quality, but then he could become part of the front 3 when we need to. Again, it's a shame. The guy had a lot of potential, but that really summed up Chelsea's spell under Mourinho. A lot of players like De Bruyne, Lukaku, a lot of them, Mata especially. We were building a footballing team which Mourinho changed to become a much more defensively hard-working, counter-attacking team. And make of that what you will, but it is quite disappointing because, you know, it's always going to be a case of what if. And to end the News Daily video, it's going to be with that main man, Alvaro Morata. He has been nominated for a Goal of the Month for his fantastic solo run against Stoke City. He's been nominated for that, and also he's been nominated for Player of the Month alongside Aguero, Lukaku, Lascelles, Philip Gross and Kevin De Bruyne. So if anything, you guys, in the description below, I'm going to have a link where you guys click on that to nominate Alvaro Morata for Player of the Month. You know why? Because I want this guy on FIFA. But anyway, you guys, that's going to end today's News Daily video. Just before I end things quickly, I'd really appreciate and really love if a lot of you guys would click on the description below and click on the OneFootball app to download that. Each download really helps me because it gives me a chance to get more sponsorship for the channel, and it makes it more reality for me to actually make this become a full-time thing one day. Anyway, you guys, thank you for watching today's News Daily video. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm the FC. This is Blue Lines TV. Signing out.